January 20th, 2025, Atlanta, Georgia. Fourth quarter, seconds remain. Ohio State leads Notre Dame 34-23. Ryan Day paces the sideline, jaw clenched, because he knows what most don't. Even this national championship won't save his job. The confetti falls, the trophy lifts. His legacy, for now, one national championship and 4 losses to Michigan. For almost any coach, that's immortality. But at Ohio State, one title doesn't buy security, it buys a single season of silence. Because in Columbus, all roads lead to November, to the game. And when that game comes again, Day will face the same impossible truth that haunts every Buckeye coach. You're only as good as your last Michigan game. To survive, he must win forever. Ryan Day wasn't born into Buckeye royalty. He grew up in Manchester, New Hampshire, a hockey town, not a football mecca. At age 8, tragedy struck. His father died by self-harm. That trauma never left him, shaping his toughness and resilience. Football became his escape and identity. At UNH, he absorbed Chip Kelly's tempo obsession, scripting plays that outsmarted bigger teams. His coaching grind forged his edge. At Temple, he broke down film until dawn, learning to win with less. The NFL under Kelly sharpened his schemes, catching Urban Meyer's eye. In 2017, Meyer hired him as Ohio State's co-offensive coordinator. By 2018, Meyer was gone, and Day, with 0 head coaching experience, took the helm of a $250 million program. A program where one game, Michigan, defines everything. Ohio Stadium holds 104,000 fans. New Hampshire's crowds, barely 6,000. The outsider became king of Columbus overnight, but inheriting a throne isn't the same as keeping it. Day didn't stumble, he exploded. 2019, 13-1, Big Ten title, CFP berth. Justin Fields threw 41 TDs to just 3 picks, completing 67% of his passes and adding 10 rushing scores. First 25 games, Buckeyes averaged 46 points per game, the best scoring start in program history. By 2020, he was 23-2, stacking 5-star quarterbacks like trading cards. Kirk Herbstreit said on ESPN, "This might be the smoothest coaching transition college football has ever seen." But cracks appeared. The defense bent in big games, like the 2020 title loss to Alabama, where OSU gave up 52 points. Blowouts in September masked fragility in December. Critics whispered, offensive genius, maybe. Dynasty builder, not yet. On paper, Day looked like Urban Meyer's heir, but Columbus doesn't measure greatness in September. It measures it in November. If Day had one undeniable gift, it was developing quarterbacks. At Ohio State, he transformed Justin Fields from a Georgia transfer into a Heisman finalist. Fields threw for 5,373 yards and 63 TDs in just 2 seasons under Day's tutelage. Next came C.J. Stroud, a lanky recruit who became the most accurate passer in program history. Under Day, Stroud completed 69% of his passes and tossed 85 touchdowns to just 12 interceptions. Day's philosophy was simple but revolutionary. Treat quarterbacks like CEOs, not just athletes. He gave them authority at the line, taught them to diagnose defenses like chess masters, and built offenses around their specific strengths. Ryan sees things other coaches miss, said former Ohio State QB coach Corey Dennis. He doesn't just coach technique, he coaches football IQ. In Day's first 6 seasons, Ohio State quarterbacks combined for almost 200 touchdown passes and less than 50 interceptions. Day wasn't just winning games, he was building quarterbacks into superstars. But even that brilliance couldn't shield him from the shadow looming over Columbus. Even at his peak, Ryan Day was living in Urban Meyer's shadow. Meyer went 83-9 at Ohio State, won a national title, and went undefeated against Michigan. Analysts said Day inherited a Ferrari. His only job is to not crash it. The fan base wasn't asking for wins, they were asking for dominance. And dominance at Ohio State meant beating Michigan every single year. Comparisons to other transitions only sharpened the pressure. Nick Saban at Alabama turned succession into dynasty. Kirby Smart elevated Georgia beyond Mark Richt. Could Day elevate, or was he destined to shrink under expectations? Even winning big wasn't enough, because compared to Meyer, nothing felt big enough. And then came Michigan. At Ohio State, the crucible isn't the CFP. It's the game. 2021 in Ann Arbor, Hassan Haskins ran for 5 touchdowns. Michigan 42, OSU 27. Snow fell as fans stormed the field for the first time in a decade. 2022, J.J. McCarthy torched the Buckeyes with deep strikes. Michigan 45, OSU 23. Day stood frozen on the sideline, helpless as his defense unraveled. 2023, back in Ann Arbor, OSU fell 30-24 after a crushing fourth quarter interception. Post-game, Day's voice cracked. We came up short in the biggest moment. 2024 in Columbus with 104,000 fans roaring. Michigan kicked a 38-yard field goal with 1 minute and 47 seconds left. Final score, 13-10. Fans booed their own team off the field. 4 straight losses for Buckeye Nation. This wasn't losing. This was heresy. Urban Meyer, 7-0 versus Michigan. Jim Tressel, 9-1. Woody Hayes built his legend on it. Day, he looked like John Cooper. Brilliant teams doomed in the rivalry. The backlash was merciless. Message boards exploded with Fire Day threads. Alumni sneered. Born on third base and thinks he hit a triple. Former linebacker Bobby Carpenter said, Ohio State doesn't fear Michigan anymore, and that's a problem. ESPN analysts called him John Cooper 2.0. National headlines screamed, Ryan Day can't win the game. 70 wins didn't matter, 4 losses defined everything. But from rock bottom, champions are born. Ryan Day knew he had to change the DNA of Ohio State football. He rebuilt the staff with toughness in mind, leaned into NIL, $13 million annually raised to keep pace with the SEC, and doubled down on defense with Jim Knowles. But 2024 was brutal. Another loss to Michigan, another storm of doubt. Calls for his job reached a fever pitch. Some boosters reportedly asked if Day had the killer instinct to run the program. But none of that mattered until it was tested in the crucible of the first 12-team college football playoff. What followed wasn't just redemption. It was a gauntlet, unlike anything in college football history. First round, Tennessee, number 9, in the coldest game Ohio Stadium had ever hosted. The Buckeyes jumped out 21-0 and never looked back. Final 42-17. Quarterfinal, Oregon, number 3, Rose Bowl, a cross-country trip against the unbeaten top seed. Ohio State dropped a 34-0 first-half lead, stunning the Ducks 41-21. Semifinal, Texas, number 4, Cotton Bowl. In a de facto road game, the Buckeyes slugged it out. Jack Sawyer delivered an iconic moment with an 83-yard scoop and score that sealed a 28-14 win. Then came the national championship against Notre Dame. Will Howard, a Kansas State transfer, played the game of his life. 17 of 21, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns. The defense, mocked for years as soft, stiffened late. With 5 minutes and 12 seconds left, they stuffed a 4th and 1 that sealed the Irish's fate. Final score, Ohio State 34, Notre Dame 23. Confetti rained down in Atlanta. Players hoisted Day on their shoulders. Jim Knowles roared in the locker room. This is what toughness looks like. Day became just the second Ohio State coach in the last 50 years to win a national championship within his first 6 seasons. In February 2025, the school doubled down, a contract extension through 2031, worth $12.5 million annually. The critics who once sneered at his toughness now had no answer. Ryan Day silenced his doubters with the one currency no one could argue, a national championship. So, that's it, right? Safe at last. Well, not in Columbus. Anywhere else, Ryan Day would be untouchable. Nick Saban, 7 rings at Alabama, retired a god. Dabo Swinney, 2 titles at Clemson, a decade of security. Jim Harbaugh, 1 championship at Michigan, already canonized. But Ohio State isn't anywhere else. Here, a national title doesn't buy you security, it buys you 1 offseason of silence. The moment you lose again to Michigan, the firestorm reignites. Day himself has admitted the only expectation
everybody wants to question these guys. These guys are warriors right here to come back and win.
Is to win. Look at the resume. 87% winning percentage, 1 national championship, 5 straight playoff trips, a track record of quarterback development unmatched in college football. And yet, he's 0-4 against Michigan since 2021. That one number drowns out everything else. From 2001 to 2019, Ohio State went 17-2 against Michigan. Day has 4 of the 6 losses in that span. To Buckeye fans, it doesn't matter that he conquered Notre Dame and Texas if he can't conquer Michigan. His legacy is forever in question. The echoes are cruel. Woody Hayes fired after an infamous sideline punch. Jim Tressel forced out in scandal despite dominance. Urban Meyer, unbeaten against Michigan but undone by controversy. At Ohio State, even legends eventually fall. Analysts call it both the best job in America and the hardest. It comes with the most talent, the most money, the biggest stage, but it also comes with the most impossible demand, permanent dominance. Since 2001, Ohio State is 18-6 against Michigan. Day owns 4 of those 6 losses. He's a national champion. But in Columbus, the bar isn't rings, the bar is Michigan. The bar is forever. Ryan Day climbed the mountaintop and held college football's crown. But at Ohio State, the mountain never ends, because here, the job isn't about chasing greatness. It's about outrunning failure. And for Ryan Day, that means winning again and again and again, forever.